Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we have a continuation of our top 60 best games of all time. We're going through number 30 to 21 today. In the top half of the list now, really getting into some fantastic games. Now, of course, go check out the bottom half of the list that I've already gone through. Those videos have some great games in there, of course, as well. Just tons of great stuff up and down this list. Now, before we get into the list, I do want to mention our sponsor, StoneValleyGames.com. This is your friendly, distant game store run by Eric and Wendy. They've got all kinds of great stuff going on over there. Some of the games on this list may be over there. If they are, they will be listed in the description below, so check that out. There is a link either way in the description below to get you over to StoneValleyGames.com. They've got card games, board games, RPGs, everything that you need to scratch that tabletop itch. They can help you out. Now, they also have some cool programs. They've got a loyalty program if you're a return customer. They also, if you are in the United States military and you are stationed overseas at an AA, AE, or AP address, they'll ship to you for free. And then if you are in the continental United States and you order $100 or more from them, they'll ship to you for free as well. Go check them out. That's StoneValleyGames.com. There's a link in the description below. Now, also, if you want to support the channel, of course, the absolute best way you can do that is to subscribe and click the like button down below this video. If you'd like to support in other ways, you can check the description. There's various methods listed there. We don't do Patreon or Kickstarter though, so if you do want to help out in some monetary way, one of the best ways you can do that is to leave a super thanks in the comments below. Really appreciate all the help, and just for watching and subscribing, all of that is fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, so number 30 is Cloudspire. This was number 10 last year. It's fallen 20 spaces. A lot of that has to do with just not being able to get to the table. My game group is interested in playing it, but we just are working our way through Madara right now. There's a number of other games that have kind of caught our attention. This is one that, but once we get into it, we're going to want to spend some time with it because it's that type of game. So this is sort of a tower defense style game, and it's created in such a way. You can see I got some printed off player aids in here to help out with some of that stuff. And let's see, this, there are a lot of reference sheets in here for sure. Now, one of the cool things is you've got cooperative scenarios here for, I believe it's just for 2 players. I don't believe you can go up to 3 with the co-op stuff. But so you got cooperative scenarios, a ton of those in here. You can see, I mean, just all kinds of maps and everything. Then you have solo specific scenarios here. Again, look at all these different scenarios in here for solo mode. So lots of options. Then, of course, you can just go kind of a generic battle royale type thing where everybody that's playing is going up against each other. You've got these different, I believe 4 different factions in the base game here. So here are the Grove Tenders, right? And so this is showing you how you could advance your fortress, meaning, these different buildings you can build and stuff like that. And, again, then the Nororo will have something entirely different. The Brahmin will have something entirely different. And then you've got the heirs here, right? But then not only that, but on the back, you have all of your faction specifics here, minion promotions, spires, and specific keywords that go to that particular faction. You can see, the Grove Tenders have a whole ton of stuff back here. And so they really provide you with all the tools necessary to understand the specifics about your faction. And you're going to have these dice that you'll be using. But the real cool thing here, and this game is so big, I obviously can't even come close to showing you everything. But you've got these neoprene mats. I mean, this is from Chip Theory. Their production is, of course, always way over the top and just absolutely beautiful and fantastic. This is what your fortress might look like, and as you upgrade the buildings, you actually put pegs into these little slots here to show what level the building's at. You keep track of your health here, and what's that called? I think it's like, it's not magic, I don't think. Anyway, it's a different resource there. And so you'll be laying, you lay these tiles out, of course, at the beginning. It's not an exploration game, so you have the map set up beforehand. But then the factions themselves, of course, are these kind of poker chip looking things here that have all of your information on here. You've got your health and your attack, and I can't remember what that is. It's been a while since I've played. And you've got these two different sides. That one's incorporeal. This has entropy attached to it. So all these different, I believe this is going to be that's a portal. Is this a spire? I think that's a spire. But so many cool little creatures and abilities and all these different ways of playing it. And then you do have the named heroes who you can actually control them. Let me see who else we've got in here. But yeah, you can control the named heroes, but the individual sort of creatures, lower level creatures, are just going to wander around in kind of a AI sort of way and move through the map. And so you kind of have to set them up in such a way that, because if you've played a tower defense game before, you can't control most of what's going on. You set them loose and they start moving towards the target. And that's the same kind of thing that's happening here. And it's really cool. So not being able to necessarily control them at first sounds maybe like that would be kind of infuriating. It's not, though. I really enjoy it. You have some minor control over it, but ultimately you're setting your army loose, marching them towards each other, and seeing what happens. Only ever played it solo. Really enjoy it. Want to get back into it. This was a game that I acquired shortly before my move to my new house, and then once we moved, never got back into it. So maybe after my current campaign of Aeon Trespass Odyssey, but that's Cloudspire. Number 29 was 28 last year, so holding very steady. This is Euphoria, Build a Better Dystopia. And this, one of the earliest games from Stonemaier Games, but this is a worker placement game where you're going to be essentially trying to, I suppose, have the greatest influence in this dystopia. And you've got 4 different factions, but you are not actually one of the factions. You're kind of working all of them to get the best angle and everything. You've got the Euphorians that live in this euphoric city that is maybe not as, it's actually a dystopia. You've got the Subterraneans that live down here. You have the Wastelanders out here. And then up at the top of the board, you've got the Icarites that live up here in the clouds and have this green gas that they may or may not use to dull the pain. And, throughout the game, you'll be building these different buildings. And so, you'll put the resources here, and once it's built, it slides over like this. And then you have these spots to put your workers. And you got some pretty cool names in here, like the Apothecary of Productive Dreams, the Bemusement Park, the Theater of Revelatory Propaganda, Palace of Forced Altruism, and Together We Work Alone Camp. You'll be able to get some people to help you out here. You've got people like the Soulless Plumber, Chaga the Gamer, Brenda the Knowledge Bringer, so all these different abilities that you can get off of these people. But the cool thing with this game is that your workers are actually these dice. So it's a dice worker placement game. And, you'll start the game, I believe you start with 2 maybe, but the numbers on them actually represent their knowledge. So the higher the knowledge, the better that they're going to be able to do certain jobs. But you also have to be careful because at certain times in the game, you're going to roll your dice. And in this case, let's see, we've got 5, 9, 12, 14. So if we had our knowledge all the way down here, then we would only have to add 1 to this roll, which would actually be okay, because as long as you have less than 16, then you're good. But if you ever make that knowledge roll and that plus this modifier is equal to or greater than 16, then your most knowledgeable worker essentially realizes they're living in a dystopia and they are done with it and they run away. And so then you're down a worker and you'll have to re-recruit a worker. And you can do that down here at the activation tank. But again, you know, lots of different things going on here. Lots of ways for you to start building out what you're trying to do. And the whole idea is you're trying to get these stars out on the board. And the quicker you can do that, the sooner you're probably going to win the game. You got this allegiance track down here that gives you some bonuses. You can be tunneling through here. And so the idea with the tunneling is, you know, the Euphorians, for instance, are able to create gold pretty effectively, but they're tunneling down this way so that then that'll open up a area where you can gain water. Or the Wastelanders, they get food, no problem, but they're going to tunnel through so they can acquire electricity easier. Really easy to use terminology on the board too, because you've got the squares, which is always the cost of what's going on. And then the circles is the reward. And there's this cool thing where, you know, most worker placement games, you have to, you know, pull your workers back off the board. In this one, instead, in a lot of the spots, and where you see these square spots with that kind of arrow, if your worker's there, somebody else can come in here and take that spot, and they just push you off, and then you get your worker right back. So many cool decisions about how you're going to, you know, proceed with the game, where you're going to try to get those stars put out. You know, are you going to try to push deep into the allegiance track here and get to one of the stars here, or are you just going to go far enough on the allegiance track to kind of power up some of your other capabilities? You know, are you going to try to get your stars out here doing this, you know, building the buildings, doing going up here to the Icarites, the Nimbus Loft, you can get star up. You know, there's all these different ways that you can go about doing that, and it really just is a very rewarding experience. I feel like it's one of the Stonemaier games that doesn't get talked about enough, and it really should, because, you know, it's one of the earliest designs from Stonemaier, but still really works well, and especially at higher player counts, I think that's Euphoria. Now, number 28 was 42 last year. This is Zaya Legends of a Drift System. This is an enormous sandbox-style space exploration game where you, though, are you're like an individual pilot. Maybe you got a small crew or something like that, and you're on this ship. And, you know, maybe it's one of these. And they do come pre-painted, by the way. All of these are the paint jobs that come with the game. One of the few games out there that comes pre-painted. I love that, because I just don't have time to paint anymore. Anyway, so you're going to start, and you're going to have, kind of, depending on how many players and, you know, various things for the setup, you'll have this area that you're going to start in, and then you're going to start exploring. And as you go around, you know, you're going to find planets, and they could be, this is a lawful planet based on the blue. This is a neutral planet. And then this over here is an unlawful planet or an outlaw planet. I can't remember exactly what it's called. And you're going to have missions that are based on all that. And you might become an outlaw depending on some of your decisions. You're going to be flying through these asteroid fields, and maybe you risk it and try to go straight through. And, you know, and if you're going to be doing stuff like that, you might want to upgrade the stuff that's on your ship. And, you know, you could outfit your ship. Well, let's go to that real quick. You could outfit your ship. So this is one of the smaller ships here, and you can see we've got what's he got here? Looks like the blast. So he's got a blaster here. He's got a shield here, and here's an engine. All right. Pretty standard setup for a smaller ship. As you get a bigger ship, you're going to have much more space. You can see it's this polyomino thing that you're working with here. And as it goes along, you might take some damage. Damage to the actual components, like the blaster or whatever, will reduce its functionality, and damage to the ship itself. Depending on how much damage you got, if you end up taking full ship damage and the ship explodes, you're not out of the game though. You would just kind of restart. You've got your energy here that affects your actions and stuff like that. And you've got kind of an impulse thing here, which will let you, I think that's, if I remember correctly, it's impulse 3, lets you go 3 spaces, that sort of thing. So if your engines are down. There is a roll and move component to the game, but there's been some, there was a pretty clever house rule, one of the few house rules I ever used that kind of took the drastic luck out of that and made it much more palatable. And then when the expansion came out, they also did some additional things to help mitigate that luck. But, there's so many things like, so with the planets, they had these shields around them, and you could opt to just go out of the main gate. But if you're a criminal going through the main gate of a lawful planet, it's going to be a problem. So maybe if you really need to get on that planet, you're going to try to sneak through the shield. And there's so many decisions like that you can make. I haven't even talked about the trade. So maybe you want to be a merchant. So here you can come and you can buy, oh, come on. Whoa. Okay. Getting real close up here. You can buy 2 cyber here for 1,000, but the same planet then will let you sell 1 plasma for 1,000. And so you can set up trade routes, and depending on how the board comes out, because it's modular, it's random, there could be some very profitable trade routes there. And so then if somebody starts really getting into those trade routes, are you just going to stand there and let them do that? Or are you going to, maybe try to take advantage of the trade route yourself, or become a pirate and blow up their ship every time they try to start carrying goods, but, along that really profitable trade route. And then you've got these exclamation points, which I believe is where you get your missions from. If ever there was a game that I regret selling, it's this one. Granted, selling this game absolutely helped me go to Origins a few years back, but I really wish I still had it. Back then, my game group that I was with back then did not like it. My wife didn't like it. I think my current game group would love this game. So one day, maybe I'll get my hands on it again, but that's Xia, Legends of a Drift System. Number 27 was 16 last year, so fallen just a little bit. This is Dale of Merchants. Now, this is the collection box. So in here I have Dale of Merchants 1, Dale of Merchants 2, Dale of Merchants 3, and the cards that came with the collection itself. So the great thing with this is the way you're going to... This is just such a cool way this game works. So you have all of these different factions, right? And this is, again, if you have the entire collection, you have all these different factions, and each one, let me find the cards where actually the deck selection cards. Here you go. So this shows you that, for instance, the superstitious snowshoe hares, level 2 out of 3 complexity, low interactivity, 1 out of 3. No nastiness whatsoever, but highly random, and so maybe you don't want any random ones. So then you could go with this guy instead, the diligent pale-throated sloths. 2 complexity, low interactivity, low nastiness, and low randomness as well. In fact, no nastiness at all. So maybe these are the guys you're going to go with. And then you're going to have several of these decks that are going to go in when you're playing. And in fact, let's say exactly how many it is. So, yeah, you choose as many Animal Folk decks as there are players plus 1. That's right. So, 2-player game, for instance. We don't want any nastiness. We want low randomness. So, let's see. Maybe this guy, okay, the dealing giant pandas. All right, we've got 0 nastiness, low randomness again, and a little bit more interactivity than the sloths, and complexity is a little less. So, that could be a good pairing there. And, well, no, these guys have some nastiness, so let's not do them. But then look at these guys. All right, we've got the observant snowy owls. High complexity and high interactivity, but no nastiness. So you're going to be actually interacting with the other player, but you're not actually being, it's not a take that type interaction, and low randomness. So now these will be the 3 factions that we use, right? So then we'll go in here, and here's the observant snowy owls. And in here, we've got a number of different cards, 1 through six, five, 1 through 5, I believe. Yeah. And so a 1 is the wise spy, and it'll have, this is a passive ability that it's going to do on here. And then 2 is ancient knowledge, another passive ability for you. 3, again, another passive ability. So you can see there's kind of a theme here. This is quality inspection, a theme with the owls. Another passive ability there with the binoculars. And balancing, again, all of them are passive abilities here for the owls. And so those cards will be part of the deck. The dealing giant pandas. All right, so here we've got, this is a technique ability. We've got prepaid goods, which is another technique. And so you can see that there's here's a passive ability here with the essential purchase. And so each of them are going to have very different cards, and you're going to create the deck with, you know, whatever these are that you've chosen for your game. Or, you know, again, you could do that randomly, by the way. You saw me choose them, which is perfectly legitimate, but you could also completely randomize it as well. And then the whole idea is you're going to be trying to build stalls. And these cards are going to come out on a board like this, right? And depending on where they are on the board, there might be an increase in the cost of them. And then in your player area, though, you're going to be trying to build stalls. And each stall has to belong to a single animal, folks. So, you know, maybe, you know, you finally get rid of that one card in your hand by turning it into a stall. But now, because it's in that stall, it can't be used anymore for anything else. And then maybe the 2 stall will actually be 2 number 1 cards. So there's a 2. Okay. And again, though, you cannot use those cards anymore. So you're getting them out of your hand, but then you're also limiting what you can do. And so there's my 3 stall now, right? And so it keeps going up like that. My 4 stall maybe is that. And so it'll keep going up. And the first person to build 8 stalls that way, and you do have to do the in order, it's going to win the game. But the real replayability here is how many factions you can get your hands on. As you know, now there's the 4 different sets that are out there right now. And then there's these other things in here that you can use optionally or not. You know, we've got these actual named people in here that are going to give you some additional abilities, and they're color coded for how complex they are. You've got just a ton of stuff there. And then you've got traps that you can set up. There are these trap cards here. They're going to throw other, you know, other things in the way of your opponents. Certain factions are going to use these specialty cards. You've got these dice here that are going to go to certain factions as well. Of course, those are probably the more random factions. And then some factions even use a day-night cycle that will affect which abilities can do what, you know, and whether it's the, you know, I'm trying to remember which one would be a good example of that. Yeah, the stealthy long-winged bats here. You can see, so take the top 2 cards from your discard pile and have that player shuffle them into their deck. But at night, it's take the top 2 cards from your or another player's discard pile. So daytime, they can't do that part, but nighttime they can. And so since the bats are nocturnal, all of their stuff is going to get better at nighttime. Meanwhile, the mongooses have the same idea, except they or day and night have different things on here. But you can see, for the most part, they're better during the day. And this even lets them advance 1 space on that timer. Just so many cool ideas here, and the way you can mix and match them is just such a phenomenal idea. And it takes some of the things that I liked about Smash Up, which was a game that I never, ever really got into and did not enjoy, and takes the best parts of that and adds the deck building and the purging of your deck at the right times and the special powers. Such a cool idea. This is Dale of Merchants. Next up at number 26, we have a much smaller game, brand new to the list. This is Doomlings. Now, I believe this is a deluxe edition or something like that, so keep that in mind when you're looking at it. But this is what appears at first to just be some silly little party game. I mean, it is a silly little game, but it's a silly little game that really pops and really has some cool stuff going on. Thematically, you're trying to create the perfect species with all of these traits, right? Like these are like, the traits of your species. Really, you're building out victory points for the end of the game, but you've got bones, which allows you to take 2 cards from the discard pile and add them to your hand, or maybe your Doomling is going to be juicy, and some fantastic flavor text here, by the way, as well. And or spiny, right? Or overgrowth. And some of these cards are going to give you negative points, but it's because they're giving you positive points in a different way. You have dominant traits, which have these stars. You can only have 1 dominant trait for your Doomling. Once you put a dominant trait out, you got to ignore any others that you end up picking up. I mean, there's really not much to say about this game in terms of how it's played, because it really is, you draw from the deck into a hand of cards, play your cards. Now, I will say, let's see, let's talk a little bit more about it though, because let's see. Okay, so here is your gene pool, basically, which is showing you how many cards you can have in your hand. And so at the end of the round, you're going to equalize, meaning that your hand either has to drop down to or come up to that size. So if my gene pool is at 5 and I have 7 cards, right, I'm going to discard 2. But if I only have 2 cards, I'm going to draw 3. And so that's kind of a cool way that works. And then let's see, the rounds are tracked through, not the Meaning of Life cards. That's an expansion. Must be back this way. Yes, here we go. So you always start with the Birth of Life card, but then you're going to have these ages, right? And in the ages, all kinds of stuff can happen. You've got natural harmony. You may not play a trait of the same color as the last trait played. And so that's what will be going on for that entire round. Or the Messiah. Play this age in reverse. First player last and last player first. Atmospheric thickening. Instead of taking your turn, play 1 trait from the top of the deck. Ignore its action. Do not stabilize. If it has a requirement you cannot fulfill, discard the card. And so every round you have these different ages that are going on. And eventually, though, the end of the game will come. You got these catastrophes that occur, and eventually the game will end, and you'll have a world's end thing that'll happen. And then whoever has the most points wins. But it's so much fun, and there's so many different ages in here, so lots of variation in what's going to happen every round. Guys, this game y'all know the type of games I like. I like huge Aeon Trespass Odyssey type games, Gloomhaven, the really big box, massive campaigns. I had zero expectation this game was going to grab me, and boy, was I wrong. This is kind of like Ready, Set, Bet, except this, I would have, I did, in my mind, dismiss it as something that I would truly enjoy, and it's been a ton of fun. And yeah, get your hands on a copy of Doomlings. Check it out. My number 26. 25 is brand new to the list. This is Endless Winter Paleo Americans. Now, this is, let's go over here. I obviously don't own the game, which is why we're on Board Game Geek here. So you're going to be building out or exploring, I should say, this map here, and you set up your camps here. You set up enough camps in the same area, you can upgrade it to this sort of village area like that, and you're taking over the map, which is going to give you various benefits and everything, of course. But the main thing you're working off of is the main board here, as well as there's got to be your player board. Yeah, your player board here. You can see it's one of these games where you've got your HUD set up on there initially, and then as you pull more off, it's going to give you greater and greater benefits. And same thing here with the kind of community building and everything. And there's a lot of options as far as how you're going to go about doing this and what you're going to, whether you're going to focus on hunting or building, exploring, all this kind of stuff. And back up here on the main board, you're going to be working your way through these different areas here as well. And it really, provides all these different choices. Maybe you might ignore this explore area, which, by the way, I think from my limited experience with the game would be a mistake. This is, to me, one of the most fun aspects is kind of spreading out on this thing, and certainly one of the most rewarding in terms of what it can provide you if you focus on it, and focus on exploring in the correct areas for what you're trying to achieve and what you want to focus on. But then over here, you've got these different sections that you got to focus on, and your tribe is you're gonna have people dying, and then that, though, you can turn that into points as well. And if I remember correctly, I think thematically you're actually working your way through different generations of your people as well. Just a lot going on here. You've got the different tracks that you're going to have to be, working your way up and focusing on. You have these different people you're going to be recruiting, and that's going to be incredibly important, that you get the correct people to, with the correct cards to help you do what it is you want to do. And don't get distracted by the shiny thing, because there's shiny things all over the place, and you absolutely need to focus on what it is you want to do and head towards that, because this is one of those games that tries to distract you by pulling you in all these different directions, and can pretty easily successfully pull you in those different directions, and you'll find that you're doing nothing well. You're doing everything okay and nothing really, really well, which by the end of the game, if you're playing against an opponent who is focused and is doing things well, that's really going to cost you. So that is Paleo Americans Endless Winter, or Endless Winter Paleo Americans. Number 24 was 13 last year. This is Tiny Epic Dungeons. Now, this is one of the largest games in a tiny box I've ever seen. And let me be clear, the other Tiny Epic games have just never done it for me. I have not tried Tiny Epic Dinosaurs yet, which is on my shelf. That one's going to be coming soon to the channel. But other than that, I've played Galaxies and I've played Pirates, and neither of those really hit me. Galaxies was cool. It was fine. Pirates, I didn't like at all, really. Dungeons absolutely blew me away. Love this game. So it's exactly what you would think. It's a dungeon crawl. Now, it's a dungeon crawl on a timer a little bit. You definitely are going to be pushing your way through this a lot more than you might some other dungeon crawlers, but you're going to, let's see if I've got the starting room. So you got the starting room here, and your character is going to be on here. And then as you go, whenever you're there, you have the other entrances have a room there, but you don't know what it is. So when you do explore it, you'll flip it over, and you're going to run into all kinds of stuff. You might end up facing off against some of these minions like this, or you might have to fight off the goblins, and goblins are going to be pouring into this dungeon. Tons of goblins. If you ever have too many of them, you lose. But what you're working your way towards is trying to find the big bad, and there are a ton of big bads in here, right? You've got the Pharaoh, the Seer, the Tinkerer, the Demon Lord, the Dragon, the Goblin King. It just keeps going like that. The key is you don't know which one you're going up against until you find them, because you're looking at this side of the card the whole time. And if you're playing a 1 or 2 player game, you have to kill 2 of its minions. A 3-player game 3, 4-player game 4, and that's all determined in the setup. You'll have the right rooms in play in the setup to make sure it happens that way. Once you have the appropriate number of kills of minions, not goblins, minions, then you need to find the actual entrance room to the boss's lair, and then only then you flip it over and okay, we're fighting the Pharaoh. Now, also, you've got Act 1, and let's see, in a 2-player game, it would start here, and you're working your way down. If you make it to the skull, you die. Every time you pass one of these, that's the bad guys are going to activate. Every time you pass one of these, goblins enter the dungeon, right? And then when you are going up against the boss, you flip it over, start back here for 2 players, and again, you're working your way down. That's pretty much it, but there is a lot of terminology or a lot of symbology in this game. You can see all of these right here to the point, and this would be a weak point of the game, but if you're willing to look past it, then you're able to get into the enjoyment of the game. But there is so much symbology in the game that I actually have printed these off from Board Game Geek. These were player created. So you've got the hero mat appendix to help further explain the hero mats. You've got the loot card appendix to explain all the loot here, because the symbology can be a little tricky. And again, potion cards. So basically all the cards in here are explained, the room cards. And so I can just flip through this and very quickly make sure I understand what I'm looking at. But you can see a ton of that. And so this is a binder I use for user-created stuff. The only other games I have in here, to give you an idea of what level of complexity the symbology can be at, I've got Mage Knight in here, and then I've got Aeon Trespass Odyssey. And that's it as far as what's in this binder. So it's a good company, but it should be noted that I felt this game was worth printing this out so that I could get maximum enjoyment out of it because of how much fun that I have with it. A ton of heroes, by the way. Let's don't forget about that. You've got a Dryad Druid. You've got a Pandakin Brewmaster, Halfling Bard, Dwarf Cleric, Dwarf Fighter, Human Psionic, Elf Sorceress. All of these different heroes to go up against all of those different bosses. Just a great time. That's Tiny Epic Dungeons. Number 23 was 20 last year, so holding steady, we've got Tawan Tensui, the Inca Empire. Now, this has an enormous board for one thing. Main focus is this area here where you'll have, where is that priest? Where each player will have their priest up here, moving around and always moving this direction, but depending on which side they're on will affect the cost of using different areas on that side of the pyramid. So for instance, if they're here, then this area right here is not going to have any additional cost. But then moving down one step here, it will be 2 potato or corn. Down here it will be 5 potato or corn. But then you come around this side, it's going to add 1. So this would cost 1, this would be 3, this would be 6, and so on like that. You got all these different workers you're going to be dealing with. Let's see, we've got, these are the priest, and then the courier, the architect, the warrior. I think there's some green ones in here too, which would be here you go, the craftsman, and each of them has one little power that will change the way that they interact as they're being used for these different actions that are on the board. Lots of different ways for you to gain points. You could focus on this track over here, working your way up this. You can focus on the conquests, which are, there's 4 different areas you can conquest in the 4 different corners of the board. And you also can, you'll be recruiting workers over here and down here. You've got these statues that you'll be looking at buying, and for different, they match these symbols, and so then it's going to affect everything as well. There's so much going on in this game, and it's really hard to explain without getting into it and actually playing it. One of the coolest puzzles I've ever worked through while playing the game, just trying to figure out when the right time to move my priest, when the right time to build, because you can build stairs here. These stairs that get built here to help reduce the cost of, walking down the pyramid in order to do the actions that are down here. Lots of really great decisions. This is one that I had not played solo, but I mean, it comes with what's supposed to be a really great solo mode, so I definitely need to check that out as well at some point. This is Tawantinsuyu. Number 22 is Wayfarers of the South Tigris. Now, this is the latest. Well, is it the latest? I don't believe it. Maybe another one's come out since then, but this is that same, the West Kingdom, North Sea, South Tigris, that series of games. And obviously I don't have it, so we're here on BGG. So this game's got a lot of, as all of these games do, a lot of different things going on. You of course have the people up here that you're going to be able to recruit, but then you also have this stuff going on where you're kind of researching the stars and everything. And so you can purchase these cards, which will go down into this area of your board here. And then you have these areas here that the land areas that you can research, which goes here as you start building the map out that way. And then for the ocean right here, as you build the map out this way here. And kind of interesting thing with that is that you cannot build the sky out farther than the ocean itself, for obvious reasons. How are you going to see it if you haven't actually been there? So that's how the player boards themselves work, as you start to literally kind of build this terrain out as you collect these cards. But then up here, you're also moving along this track here, finding different ways, different paths as you go along, and getting, of course, different rewards and bonuses as you make it deeper and deeper into this map here. All kinds of different things going on with these buildings here, and just a ton of ways to score points and a ton of decisions. And again, which direction are you going to go? Which path to victory are you going to take? And are you going to get distracted by the other cool things that you see that look like right now that's going to be a ton of points, but is it going to, in the end, distract you from what you were actually trying to do, from the direction you were actually trying to go, and therefore cost you more points in the end because you allowed yourself to get distracted by that shiny thing that looks so cool right now? Wayfarers of the South Tigris is phenomenal. I'm hoping this is one that I would really love to get my hands on. Paladins of the West Kingdom is the only one I actually own from this series of games, but this is one that I would love to add to my collection. Wayfarers of the South Tigris, my number 22. And the number 21, which I also do not currently own, is Everdell. What a cool game this is. I mean, it's got an insane production value. It does have this ridiculous tree that is absolutely unnecessary, but still very cool. I am not opposed to unnecessary components that look cool. And everything about this game really just looks phenomenal. And so this is one where you're going to be collecting these cards and you're going to be putting them out into your play area, and depending on how they interact with other cards, they're going to be giving you points, and maybe you're going to end up getting rid of some, and you're going to be burying some things and all this stuff. And as you go back and forth and try to make the synergies work the best that you can, you'll be working your way through the is it seasons? I feel like it's different seasons as you work your way through, but basically you're working your way through the different rounds. And as you do so, more and more cards will come out. You're going to be collecting these different resources, which, by the way, also are beautiful. You've got these food resources, the wood, the amber, I think is what that is, and these stone as well. And I just love the way the stone look. And these look like a lot. They actually are squishy, and I don't know. The tactile nature of this game is off the charts as well. The production itself makes the game look phenomenal. The way the game plays, the cool artwork on these cards, and the thematic, the way that the abilities of the cards fit thematically with what the cards are is also just so cool. And it's a great time. It draws you in with the way it looks as well as the way it plays. And it's one that I really need to get some more plays in. And I think this would be one that my entire family would enjoy. That's Everdell, my number 21. So you go, that is 30 through 21. Be sure to come back for the next 2 videos as we continue counting down the best games of all time. We've got some newcomers all the way up into the top 10 this year, so it's going to be an interesting list. We've got other great stuff coming out as well. How to play Aeon Trespass Odyssey, how to play Dungeon Universalis, how to play Frosthaven, how to play Lands of Gowser, all that coming to you very soon. And until next time, if you're bored online, board offline.